Hello everyone, my name is Nakak and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video and welcome back to Fortnite commentary video. And in today's video I want to talk about both Season 3 of OG and I guess Season 2 since I haven't talked about that. But without further ado, let's go. So first of all, let's start with Season 2, and generally I do have to say it is a ginormous step up from Season 1. As first of all, there's actually a lot more loot, not only on the ground, there's also more location, there's a lot more chests. Like overall, I don't feel like essentially, when I drop into a location where I have to, first of all fight people essentially to find the weapon because there's fuck all left and we're basically fighting with scraps. Also, we had introduction of many parts which that just means heals in general, like shields, are a lot more common. So you'll be going to fight essentially with a lot more health. You'll be essentially having a lot more health in your backpack. So in general, I can't really say a single bad thing about Season 2. Although I think the electro traps are gone. I could be wrong since I don't play build, but I'm almost 100% sure they're gone. So that's kind of sad, but at the same time, we didn't have him in Season 2, so it was kind of nice to have him back, and also making back to creative, so essentially we can play around with creative. That actually has to be one of the things which I didn't quite like about the OG, the OG like Chapter 1, is when they implemented all the stuff from, previous seasons, there was also still stuff that were kind of missing. Like, for example, the OG SMG, like the one from Season 1, now that's back in creative, so we can like play around with it, or OG traps. Now they're also back, so we can play around with them. And so that's one thing which I was kind of like saying that they did a pretty good job in general of Season OG. Like in general, like, the whole entire mode. Is whenever we have something back, even if it's, for example, like Zapatron, it was also like in Season 2, be back, for example, like a weekend, it comes to creative, so we can essentially play around with it in creative. And I know because I play like a few different maps, and they had the kind of like the OG SMG or Zapatron in one of the maps I play. I think is Chaos Roguelike. Chaos Raid, I think I even made a video about it, so I'm just very happy that, the sort of stuff that we didn't see previously in creative are now in creative. I'm also kind of looking forward to whenever they bring back in Season X, which could be like a year from now on, when they're going to be bringing out the megs. I at least hope the megs will be coming back to creative, and I hope that people going to just essentially going to implement them in creative some kind of like fun mods, because I generally do like the megs. Like, it might be kind of a controversial thing to say, but what I feel like, if you would have found a specific game mode or a specific game mode where you could have like implemented, for example, maybe something like a zombie rush game mode where essentially you're fighting the mechs, I think that could potentially be fun, very fun, creative, as I would just play on the hours for. So I am extremely looking forward to when mechs eventually do come back, and essentially when the other stuff we can actually have in creative do come back. I'm a bit unsure if we have like a guided rocket in creative, but I'm pretty sure after Season 3 OG, we should be having that back into creative. Now, however, there's one thing which I do want to actually discuss in here, something which I probably should have mentioned in my last essential video when I was talking about the OG, but I made a video way before they implement that change, and that is the addition of bots. They had them, I think, like a week after Season 1 OG released, which that was when I made my video. They had it throughout the entire of Season 2, and they have it in Season 3. Also, they had it in the other one, which I'm going to talk about for Season 3 OG, and that is introduction of bots. And not gonna lie, as someone who, I don't want to say like I'm kind of defending the bots to be in the main BR, but as a person essentially who wouldn't really mind the bots, because as I said, I play this game to have fun. I don't really play this game to, have a sweat fest on my hand. Essentially, I have to, be 110% always on my best behavior, basically, but my best skills. I don't like the bots inclusion, because at that point you're not making an OG. You just making something that resembles OG, but it isn't OG. I understand why they decided to implement the bot into the OG. Like, there's a reason for it, because people were complaining that literally like OG mod was difficult. That was back in Season 1. Bear in mind, where there was fuck all you could have used to win games. But I don't believe the bots were good addition. Like, no. No, I'm the person says essentially play this game for fun. I don't play this game competitively, and I say this was a shit decision. Bots should have never been added into the joy, at least in the way they have done it. The way which I've been talking about is for them essentially to make bots if they wanted to add to OG, and many others just like, have several like playlists. Essentially, if you go to them, for example, main BR, there's a from the mode essentially play main BR, you can just switch from ranked or no ranked. And I believe they should have just introduced bots essentially to be something similar, where you can play regular BR, ranked or bot lobbies, and they should have implemented that for the OG. That really would have essentially solved the issue for essentially just want to play this game casually, and just not really essentially want to worry about essentially people who really take these games seriously and essentially want to have this chapter 1 feeling where it was hard to win back in the day. It would have, as I said, sorted everything. I want to say, but no, we decided to introduce bots into OG mode, completely ruining the mode. I don't want to say kind of like ruining it because as I still have fun, mainly because as I don't really play this game as essentially to be competitive. I just play this casually. If I win or not, I don't really care. Just kind of one win per season because I kind of collect umbrellas. But people essentially complain about this essentially that they should have never added bots into OG. I can understand that because at that point, what's the point of recreating Chapter 1 if you're not going to do it properly? And also with that, I do also kind of want to mention that the other issues you have with this mod, like for example, every single shotgun pulling out animation sounds the fucking same. Every AR sounds the fucking same when you pull the weapon out. And some of the other stuff when they did, like for season 1, season 2, and season 3, it is clear that actually they did put lots of effort into essentially to kind of recreate that old feeling. Like for example, in season 1, the OG, like the grenade icon, they could have just easily plunked it on essentially kind of the one of the recent grenade icon, but no, they decided to keep it the same as season 1. And yet the same sounds for every single, like for example, every single type of shotgun, every single type of AR. Like a lot of the work, and essentially, praising season 2 and season 3 essentially to be kind of like, especially season 3 OG. I consider it to be, as of right now, the OG chapter peak. As of right now, the current seasons we have, season 1, season 2, season 3. Season 3 for me is kind of peak, and as I said, I can see a lot of effort they kind of put into these seasons. But there's just a little things that I'm surprised they haven't changed it, even though there are existing sound libraries that they could just pull out. But even if it's from like a chapter 2 sound library, that's a lot better rather than every single fucking sounding animation sounding the fucking same. I kind of lost myself as I was going with this argument, but bots, no great addition. Please remove them as soon as fucking possible. But if you want to kind of keep it kind of the mode for them casuals, just to kind of like as a separate place where you can kind of play either bots, regular BR, or ranked, something like that. I mean, you already have ranked for OG, which I don't really see why you would have ranked for OG. Like, I kind of thought of this one as like, fun going back in time, reliving some more memories, not really like a competitive place because, I mean, I guess technically, I think they said that Chapter 1 map will just be keep rotating. Once we get to Season 10, then we'll be back to Season 1, so maybe you can make a tournament like FNCS Chapter 1, that could technically work if the map is going to stay the same. But I don't know, I just still think that, having a ranked for Chapter 1 is a bit stupid, not gonna lie. But anyway, enough about Season 2, now it's time to talk about Season 3. And honestly, I feel like even though there wasn't as much changes, in the actual, the map and the gameplay, I feel like Season 3 to Season 2 is kind of the same way was Season 2 was to Season 1. But it took a lot of the kind of the good stuff, and I feel I kind of kept it, but also improved a lot of the stuff. Like for example, having the local language, I guess is kind of a cool new location that you can have on the other side of the number, essentially. It's cool as a location, technically more loot on the map. That's cool. What I feel like is the most exciting thing about Season 3 is addition of vending machines, especially in Zero Build. The vending machines pretty much work the same in Zero Build, and you can actually surprisingly gather materials, which first time I played it, I was kind of confused, like, I didn't click to play a build, but I was still getting materials, I was a bit confused. But I actually kind of like it because, as I said, you don't build in Zero Build. So basically all the materials is pretty much just for the vending machine. I kind of love it because that pretty much guarantees you getting some kind of loot. I only just now realized that I haven't really explained that well, but what I mean is that because of the vending machines, that just kind of not so much eliminates the RNG, but at the same time it greatly reduces it because now no longer you're basically just down essentially what you get in the chest, essentially what's around you. If you see a vending machine and for example it's a golden or purple one and there is a scar in it, you just grind for the materials nearby and you get that scar. Who would have thought addition of vending machines in Zero Build would genuinely make me actually enjoy Zero Build of OG. Because essentially, as I said, Chapter 1 map wasn't designed for Zero Build. I mean, if it wasn't obvious, which was essentially grind rails and Portal 4, it's just a smaller one. They have to kind of add the nuance to the OG, even though they went in OG, for to make the Zero Build, bearable. But I just I don't know why just a smaller addition of vending machine. I guess not small, but addition of vending machine generally made me actually enjoy the overall of OG. And generally, I think like season 3, as I said, is the most fun I had. But wait, there is more. At the start of season 3, they decided to bring back 50 for 50. And it is just as scary, I guess, was as literally in chapter 1, and I guess kind of chapter 2. I think we did have 50-50 in chapter 2. I would like to believe. And it's one of the like shine like ways 43-40 like in chapter 3. No, it was actually 50-50, and it genuinely is like just as an OG feeling. I think this has like the best essentially thing that they could have brought back as essentially to kind of recapture that nostalgia, because 50-50 how they played when it was around for the 2 weeks, it plays literally the same as it was in chapter 1, where pretty much like two teams will duke it out and just one will just fucking override the other and just fucking mop the floor with them. Generally same as chapter 1. So of all the times where they were trying to bring nostalgia, where they were trying to bring the OG feeling, this is easily the best one. The fact they didn't really change it as much as how the game mode really works. And yes, they did have reboot vans in there where, we didn't really have them in season 3. But at the same time, when 50-50 did return in chapter 1 in season 8, the reboot vans, so it's like too much like game immersion, game breaking, where just like, oh, I don't remember having reboot vans in 50-50. Well, they were in season 8, so it's not too much of it. It's just like a slide, just like, oh, that wasn't there when I played last time 50-50. It wasn't really something that was a gimmick when, since, with the other team was losing, they could have just fucking brought back everyone with the reboot van, because they were just actually redesigned the reboot vans where if you bring back someone, there's only like people essentially who are in your squad, like, essentially people you can't see, where you can't represent some people from the other squad even though they're technically on your team. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense. Well, I meant to say that you can only revive people who are technically on your squad but not in the team, because technically they're on your squad even though they're in the same team. Confusing how it works, but the second essentially you would have played, you don't know how that works. But as I said, this team which they brought back literally feels like the one which I played them back in chapter 1. It honestly, as I said, this is the first time they were ever trying to bring back something nostalgic, bring back something that we used to play and remember, and they actually succeeded. Like, although there's one thing which they did at the beginning of season and at the beginning when they brought back 50-50, and that is introduce bots in there. Why would they even think that's a good idea? They did remove the bots like after a few days time, but still, I don't really understand what's the thought process behind it. I guess the reason they decided to add bots essentially was to, because they knew essentially if you will go in there, they're just like either you're going to be steamrolling the other team or you're going to get steamrolled yourself. And I guess they added it just to make it like enjoyable for people who actually aren't good at the game. But the point of steamroll is that is kind of the point of it, where one team either gets steamrolled or the other. Like, that's been the thing ever since it came out. So I don't get why they were trying to change that. As I said, this is the one time where they decided to remove the bots, and I must say, like, you know what? Fair play to that big essentially for removing the bots, even though they should have been in the first place. But still, they listened to us and they removed us. So we have to give them some props. Not much props, because I said they thought they added the bot, but some of it that they decided to listen to us. We do have to give some, let's be fair. Well, anyway, that's going to be it for today's video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. These are my opinion on Season 2 and Season 3. Season 3 is looking up to be essentially the best season so far of OG Fortnite. I guess actually, if I do think about it, I guess essentially Season 3 was always supposed to be like the best one, essentially, of OG Fortnite. So I guess it does make sense that I do like it the most here. The fact that I played and just be like, yep, this is peak, this is what we like. But anyway, I'm not going to be holding you guys anymore. That's what I wanted to say. See you guys next time. Goodbye.